Hey YouTube, and welcome back to Mike Mini Motors. So today we are going to start the back half of my mini bike build. So I have the ski front end that I did last winter, and this winter I'm going to try to get this on here so this thing can actually go in the snow. And luckily today I got the last of my parts in the mail about actually like an hour ago, so I can get started on this build. I've kind of been sitting here thinking about how I want to do this, and I've got a decent idea in my head so far, and fingers crossed it's gonna work. But yeah, first thing, just like normal, I'll grab the camera, get it closer, and I'll give you guys a rundown of all the parts that I got, and then I can start mocking up this axle in here and see how we want to set it up. All right, so here is my plethora of parts. First off, I'll go ahead and show you guys, this is the track that I'm going to use. It's off of an old Atlas snowblower, and luckily I have the second one. It's actually sitting right here from the other side, because I might have to use parts from this one on that guy depending on which the plates I want to use, and then also the bushings. But stop. I did buy a new axle, because this is a 3/4 inch axle. Because luckily this is all 3/4 inch through here, and even these bushings, like this one on this side was it was through hole, so you could just slide this through. This one had a little bit of a lip on it, so I just took my Dremel to it, and now it just goes right in there. But yeah, so there's that, and then here's the old axle out of it that I ended up not being able to use. You can see it's rusted, and actually it's bent. You can see it kind of goes whoop. And I couldn't even get this sprocket off of it. It's really on there. If I had a press I could get it off, but unfortunately I don't have one of those. But I did get this sprocket off of there, and so I'm going to reuse that on this axle. And then I got my pillow block bearings. They're again 3/4 inch, so this will go in there. And then I got my collars here that'll end up being on probably on the outside here. I'm not 100% sure where I'll place the collars, but there's that. Stay. Next up is I got this hub here, again 3/4 inch bore from Go Power Sports, so that I could pick up another sprocket adapter so I can change my gearing. And I decided to go with a 53 tooth gear. It was the smallest they had, just remembering how torquey this thing was, that might be best. If not, then it's easy to switch this out. So that's at least what I'm starting with for gearing. And I got 10 feet of chain. And then since the brakes were attached to the old wheel, I had to come up with a brake system too. So picked up another one of those hubs. This is just temporarily mounted in there right now. And a brake disc from an MB200 mini bike. It's a bit bigger of a mini bike, as well as a new lever and brake caliper for it. And it is a bigger, beefier, it's a 2-pot caliper, so it'll be better stopping power. And then Go Power Sports also had a bracket for that caliper. I'm sure a lot of this I won't end up using, but I figured for the couple of bucks for this bracket, I can use this for mounting and however I have to mock it up. But yeah, that's the parts I got right now. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll grab the camera and get you a closer look at what I have done so far. All I've done so far is right here. It's just my pivot point for my swing arm. So get you a little closer and we can check that out. Here you can see what I've done already. So the axle that's back here is metric. It's a 12 millimeter. But most of the stuff that I'm going to be working with is 3/4 inch, 1 inch standard stuff. So what I did is, this is just a 1-inch piece of tube that I put caps on, welded on, cleaned it up, and then found a 12 millimeter bronze bushing at the hardware store here. And so I went that route and then made my own spacers. And that way with the bronze bushings, I still have a little bit of wiggle, because I'm going to add shock so this can actually pivot. Like I said, it's going to be a swing arm, so I can actually have a little bit of suspension. And so this is only going to be moving like that much, so that should be plenty good. And then this is going to be the attachment point for the swing arm, so when I start building the stuff around the track, they'll attach to this point. I was just going to show you guys real quick, since I have the plate off of this one real quick. the how this works. So there's just the plates have, since this one didn't want to come off on that side, just these axles, and the plastic wheels ride on that. But the sprocket comes, or the axle comes through here with that sprocket on it, and then this front wheel, pull it out, actually has a sprocket with the chain on it. And so then that hooks to the sprocket here, which then drives the whole track. Here is the axle all mocked up. I am going to cut about that much off of it. I kind of get a measurement of 13.5 inches end to end, and that will leave me with a half-inch stub out on both sides. And I figured that's just for safety. If I end up needing to make any adjustments, I can. But you can see on this side, I've just got my collar, the pillow block bearing, and then my brake caliper. It's just on here right now, it's not tight. I was just making sure that there was enough room in here if I did all my measurements. And then on the other side, pretty much same thing, got the collar, pillow block bearing, and then my sprocket, and same thing there, which is kind of making sure I got spacing and looking at lining it up, or looking at it while it's lined up like this here. It looks like this, the rear sprocket and the front sprocket on the clutch are just, they're gonna work out perfect to be lined up. So fingers crossed that's how it'll be when we get done. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this torn back apart. I'll get this axle cut down, and then I think I'll get my first tube bent. We'll get this first hoop bent around for the front. Alright, so I decided to pause and record so you guys can see where I'm at right now. I went ahead and I got the bottom hoop all bent up in the tube bender. And then originally my idea was, actually here I got another hoop set up, was I was going to have this go like so, and then the bearing would have bolted to it that way. But since this is flat bottom and this is round tube, I don't know, I just wasn't a fan of that interface. I thought about welding, taking a square tube and cutting it in half, welding it so it had a flat face, but here's what I ended up doing anyways, or instead, is the bearings will now mount this way, and I took a piece of my square tube and put it in my notcher, notched it out here so that this round tube can go right into it, like that. And then, like I said, I have this other hoop here to go up top, and then I'll cut these down and notch them to where they need to be so that we can have our top hoop. Like, it's not gonna be that tall. I just made these longer than they needed to be. It'll be probably about here. And I might even pull it back a little bit. Because my bracing here, I might put it in an angle just to make it look a little cooler. All right, so that's where we're at. I'm gonna go ahead and get this here leveled as best I can. Get about where I want it up here. And then I'm gonna make my little attachment bars that'll go from here to here. Yeah, and then once that's on there, that'll have this at least mounted, and then I can move on to the top hoop. The swing arm is now attached to the bike. Got these bars put in place, and as you can see, it's attached to the bike. It fully swings, which is nice. So now, what I'm gonna do is pull this back off so that I can notch these tubes. And I've got a height of about sit right about like that. And these are really long legs right now, just because I didn't know how long they needed to be. So those will end up getting cut down, and then I'll be used for some of my bracing. Because I might actually take this here hoop on the top and actually cover it, so it's more like a fender to keep snow from flying on me. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that swing arm off and get these notched, and then get that tacked on here. Well, here's something kind of sweet. With this Versa notcher from Rogue Fab, I can actually just put this whole swing arm in there, notch them, and flip it over. I'll do the other side and be done. That's sweet. All right, let's get to cutting. All right, so I went ahead and got these tubes notched, and then got my hoop welded in here. And I did go ahead and knocking it back at a 20-degree angle, back like that. Just, I don't know if that looked a little nicer. And then went ahead and got my upper brace here tacked into place. What I think I'm gonna do now is, I didn't know originally how much space I was gonna have down here, but I do have enough room for a tube that I'm gonna actually take a tube and bend it to 90 and have it come out here and come up just at the back of the track here. And I can see a little better. Have it come here and up like that. And then what I'll end up doing is cutting these down to wherever I need them, and I'll bend up another like hoop like this in the front, and then tack it on the back so it's a nice full circle. So that's where I'm going, or what I'm gonna do now. Ha. So I went ahead and got this rear hoop bent, cut, welded on, or tack welded on. And with that, that's the basic frame for the swing arm. And you see it's solid, pivots. That is one thing I need to address. Originally I was gonna maybe use some bump stops or some springs to let this pivot a little bit independent of the swing arm. But then I ended up putting this hoop a little too close, so this travels next to nothing. So I probably just, there's a hook or a hoop right here that I can probably just weld something here to hang on to that so that can't pivot. But that's gonna go ahead and wrap up this one, or this video, because I'm tired. But yeah, there's the main frame. In the next one, I'm gonna try to put these guys on there. So I was looking at probably going here up to the frame rail somehow. But they're just off some Chinese scooters that I tore apart years ago. They're the same length, but if you look, they're a little different eye hook on the bottom, or mounting point. I can't talk right now. And so yeah, I'll be doing that one. And then also probably getting the sprocket and chain and everything set up. I did already off camera set this up, or wrap the chain on here, and it does line up, doesn't hit anything, which is nice. But it's quite a stretch from the rear sprocket to the front sprocket, and on the top there's no tensioner or nothing, so I'm gonna have to probably add a tensioner or idler or something just to keep it so it doesn't throw the chain. But then after that, we'll just have the brakes, and these things are just sitting on here. They're not keyed because they're not set where I'm gonna have them yet. But yeah, so if you guys are liking the project, go ahead and like the video. If you guys want to see more of the build, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you get notifications when new videos come out. And if you want to say something, leave me a comment. And with that one, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. It's really hard to film when there's cop sirens and dogs barking and planes flying over.